Hello everyone. Today I'm just going to share with you a quick technique video on how to make the poppies that I used in this layout that I just finished the other day. And I thought, since I was planning on doing about 15 different layouts over the next few weeks for a project that I'm doing in my home, like a collage wall of all different older photos, I would try to see if there was a technique to do a quick video on for each, one of the layouts. If there was something that I thought maybe I wanted to share, I would do a quick little tutorial on it. So for this one, it was the poppies, because I didn't really see any good ways to make these poppies unless you had like a die or something like that to cut it out, or you wanted to do it on your machine. But these ones, I just kind of cut them out by hand. And I'm just going to show you how I did it real quick. There is one die that I did use for this, and it's for the centers. So for this one I used, it's just a small little, looks like a kind of like a daisy shape, and it's a small one, and this is the center of the flower. So I did have a die, but for the actual outer, the leaves and all that, I did the hand cutting. So for the tools that you're going to need for this, for the poppies, is just a mat, like a shaping mat. This particular one happened to go with this, which is one of those things that you poke holes in to sew onto paper or whatever. But I'm just using the mat because it's thick and it shapes the leaves really nicely. So you need that. You need a stylus, or you don't have one of these. If you are new to this, you can just use a paintbrush. The tip of a paintbrush works just as well. You don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money on this. I am using Distress ink. It's the Wild Honey by Tim Holtz. And this is what I'm going to put on the edges before I shape it. It's easier to distress it before than after. And my hot glue gun. But you can also use tacky glue, which for some of it I use tacky glue when I put the flowers together. For this one I'll just use the hot glue for the whole thing so it goes faster. But for when you're putting the centers in, it's easier to use the tacky glue because you need more time for it to set up. So I'm going to try to get this really close so you can see. This is the shape of each one of the petals, and I tried to write it on a paper that you could read and see very well. You see, they're really small, not real big. But these are the shapes, and it's kind of like a funny looking apple shape. It was the best that I could come up with for what looks kind of like a poppy petal. And so the biggest one is only 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch. The next size is 3/4 of an inch long, and it's 5/8 wide, tall. And then the last one is 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. And for the bigger flower, which is this size here, you need 4 of the big petal, and then 2 each of the middle and the smaller petal. And that's what you need for one of these. And then if you're going to make the smaller ones, these tinier ones, you'll need 4 of the middle size and 2 of the smaller size. So that's that. So you saw the shape. The other thing that I used was for the leaves. I tried to find something that kind of looked like the leaves that I saw in pictures on the internet. And I think this one was pretty much the closest shape that I could come up with. And this is the Festive Greenery by Tim Holtz. But you can even hand cut that. This doesn't even look like it's that hard to hand cut. But once I found what the petals kind of look like, I realized that I had a die that might actually work. So that's what I used for the leaves for it. So real quick, let's get into this. I've already cut some of these. I'm going to use, unfortunately, I made a whole bunch of this color. And this was too bright for my layout. Let's see. So I had all the flowers made with such good intentions, but the color is just too dark to go with the Secret Garden Graphics 45 paper because it's kind of a muted. So I had to redo and look and see if there were actual poppies that were this color, because I'm from California and this is what ours look like. But I guess there's oriental poppies, and they have the lighter colors. There's whites and pinks and light oranges, so that's where this came from. Now I have a whole bunch of these, and I guess I'll find something to do with them later. But here's my shape, and there's 4 of these ones cut out, and see, it kind of looks like an apple. And what I'm going to do is just take, this is the Wild Honey, And I'm just going to kind of darken the edges of it a little bit. You want to try to go just a little shade darker than your paper. The paper that I'm using, just for if you want any good paper to do this with, I would go with the basil paper, because you'll see when I do this one right here. When I did the second flowers, the lighter colored ones, I used the basil cardstock. And for this one, when I was making the lighter colored ones, I used just the cheap stuff that you can get at Michael's, because I have a whole bunch of it, all different colors. And it really doesn't hold up that well with the beading that you do on here. Because what you want to do is, once you've got your color on the edges, you're going to shape the petal. And that's where this fat, thick mat comes in. And you're going to use either the big side of your stylus, if you have one, or pretty decent sized paintbrush. And you're just going to color kind of hard, because you want to shape that petal. But you'll notice on the cheaper cardstock, when you do this, you may lose, you'll see the layers start to lift if it's a cheaper material paper, and you might end up tearing some of your petals. So after you finish shaping all of your petals, so you have to watch me shape the petals, because I didn't do this beforehand. Just kind of put them off to the side for a second. I had cut a lot of petals because I didn't know when I first started how many petals it was going to take to make the flowers, and so I was prepared because I knew I needed to make a lot. So I have a lot of extra orange, dark orange petal paper cut out already, but I don't have very much of the lighter one. So next you want 2 of the middle size one, same thing, just do your edges, and your fingers will be very, very stained when you're done. And then again, you want to just shape these 2, chase them around the mat. 1, and you can see that as you're shaping them, it starts to look more like an actual petal from a flower. If you were to pick one up and it would fall off, you can see how it has that nice shape to it. See how close I can get. So now we want 2 of the smallest one. Same. Just color the edges. And you don't need to be exact. You don't need to be exact on your cutting. You don't need to be exact on your sizes, just so long as you have 3 different sized petals, so that you can layer them into the middle, from outer to inside, and they will stack well together. Now you just cut a circle out of your paper. Make sure it's small enough circle that your petals will cover it. It'll give you a nice base to attach to your project. Then I take my biggest petals and put a little bit of glue on the bottom side of the petal, and then you're just going to stick it on right in the middle. I like that. And turn it around, put some glue on the bottom of the next one. So these are your 4 big sized petals. I'll glue it. This is one of those high temperature guns, so it takes a second to actually stick. But still not very much time to work. For layer number 2, you're going to make sure that your 2 petals here, this one is going to stick the opposite direction but on top. So, like so. And the next one's going to go right across from that one. And there's your 4 big petals for the inside of your flower. I mean the outside of your flower, because you're going from outer to in, into a cup shape. Now your medium-sized petals are going to go inside, and again you're just going to turn it and glue right into the middle. And you don't want to make them flat, so you want to kind of glue them where they're kind of standing up, which is where the hot glue comes in handy. If you're using the tacky glue, you might have to let it dry a bit before you go on to the next layer. See how you're starting to look like a flower. And then the last two tiny ones here. I don't think I can keep my hand out of the way for you to see, but it's in the opposite direction, just like you did the medium layer. And your second tiny petal goes right across from the first little one, standing up in the middle. And there it is. Let's see how close. See? And there is your flower. So here's your poppy. Now for the center, you can take either like a dark brown or a black. And you want to cut out two. All you need is two. And you're going to glue them together using the tacky glue, because this would be very difficult with the hot glue. With the tacky glue, you want to glue them so that the petals are like, let's see, not on top of each other. You want to stagger the petals. So once you glue them together, well, let me just glue it together and make it easier. So with the tacky glue, just put a little bit in the center, just enough to hold on to it. Stagger your petals and let it dry for a second. You see? Let's go like this. See? They're all opposite each other. Then you want to take your mat, put it right in the middle of the mat. Doesn't matter which way is up or down. Take your stylus or your paintbrush and just push down. This is why another reason why the fatter mats are better than the embossing mats. Because the embossing mats are thin, kind of thin, and they don't let you push down into them. Another little tip, if you do not have something like this, if you've ever played with fun foam, you can layer, just stack it on top of each other until you get about this thickness here, and make your own mat out of the fun foam. That works too. Now once you've got this squished into like a little center of the flower, just take your glue, and again I use the tacky glue for this because it doesn't always go exactly where you want it to go. So, and then I put it right in the middle of the flower. And then just let it dry, and there's your poppy. Once it dries in the middle, it only takes a few seconds. You can shape it a little bit more by kind of scrunching it up, or you can roll the petals if you want to try to give it some shape. Sometimes if I'm going to roll petals, I'll use this, and it'll give it a little bit of shape on the outside, but I didn't do that with the poppies because I didn't really notice the ones in the pictures having petals that went out a whole lot. They were more in. So you could just kind of squish it up some more if you think it looks too pretty. And there is your poppy. And then you make the smaller one the same way with the number of petals that I told you to. Just stagger them back and forth, put the middle in, and you're good to go. And then for the leaves, I just cut out the shapes using the die cut, but if you want to hand cut them, you can do that too. And then just the same thing. If you just make kind of a line down the middle with your stylus or your paintbrush, and then just color in the leaves from the outside to the middle, and that will curl them. They also look like weeds, like dandelion leaves, I guess. But if you just kind of color them, they'll turn into this little shape where they've got a nice little curl to them. And then that underneath your poppy looks pretty close to what's out there, the real thing. And then if you wanted to put stems on these, what you would do is before you put the center in, you would punch a hole. So you probably wouldn't want to use hot glue, you'd probably want to just use regular glue. Just punch a hole in the middle and then thread your stem through your center and then glue it that way, right through, so you'd have your stem underneath. And then you would hide it. And then your leaves. And that's pretty much it. So that's my tutorial on how I made my poppies. And the layout that I used them on is right there. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week and have fun making flowers. Bye-bye.